continuing our author read aloud of Xavie of Shamain. We are diving into part 17, covering chapters 24 and 25. If you're new here and want to stay updated on my writing journey, consider joining my newsletter, the Boreas brief, at the link in the description. Last time, we experienced the Academe go through the first year. This time, let's see how much difference the second year brings. Here is part 17. Chapter 24. The Academe. The guard training camps and facilities in their collection are called the Academe. This expression can be misleading, as the training grounds are not in one location, but rather dispersed throughout Boreas. Additionally, the main campus in the Smoky Mountains is called the Academe itself. On transition day, seedlings emerge out of the tubes at the age of 19 years and 50 weeks. They are joined by surface-born candidates, all of whom are age 20 on the transition plateau. This group, after selection, is welcomed into the Academe main campus as aspirants. Boreaspedia, 19th edition. 19 September 24, 5th epoch. Xavie. Transition day. Again. It looks different, feels different from this side. Gosh, very insecure, scared, young only a year ago. It is surprising what can change in the span of a year. How much one can change and grow, evolve in just 1 year. In the first assembly with the new aspirants, we integrate our greed, same as the alpha cohort did every time we assembled. The effect it has on the new aspirants is astounding. Beta has a strong 147 aspirants, 122 seedlings, 40 surface candidates, and 15 lost during selection. Zwick's speech is pretty much the same, with the differences in leadership woven in. He adds a bit more detail to the individual races, and that the dismissal is not to unit leaders, but cohort leaders. The alpha cohort is dismissed. Paxvobi and I just stand there and glare the aspirants down, waiting for the yard to become quiet. Paxvobi sets the expectations and some ground rules, same as last year. But where we deviate is that I take over the priming for the proper response. Works out well. We then send them off to their domes to find their guides. This year, the aspirants will not get the thin pamphlet we had, but a much more detailed and comprehensive version. They called it the unofficial Vademecum, or VM 2.0 for short. The guides this year are all freshlings. The VM is a story in itself. Turns out the brochure we got was not at all adequate for what everyone wanted or needed to know. Now, if the revising had been done as a prescribed organized activity, the updated VM would not have been ready. By mentioning that it should be updated if it is lacking, and because the printing forms and press were easily accessible and amply supplied, a secretive society formed that updated the VM. It is now the unofficial Vademecum because of some jokester. But hey, if it's been updated and made far more complete, mission accomplished. Observing the scavenger hunt, I noticed 2 of the beta pentaloids currently waiting their turn in the auditorium, getting into a discussion. A discussion that is quickly escalating. I make my way there right on time. Just as I arrive, it starts to get physical. From what I could witness and hear in the last moments, it's 2 very aggressive males in one of the pentaloids, provoking and escalating the altercation. I step in within arm's reach. Knock it off! These 2 turn and attack. They are aggressive, vicious, but neither coordinated nor very skilled. The one closer throws a punch I can easily sidestep. I pull him in, and a punch to his guts makes the air whoosh from his body. I push him over and he goes down right as the second tries to attack with the left hook. I jerk my head out of the way and land a measured punch against his ribs. He wheezes and falls over. Either something in the air today, or we have some interesting students this year. Stay down, I tell them. You're going to play nice. I don't want to see or hear any of you using aggression. This is not how we solve issues here. That has not worked out in the past, and it will not work out now. Do I make myself clear? They all nod. If you want to let off steam, do it on the mats in the arena, in an orderly, set way. I continue lecturing them. If I hear about any of you stepping out of line, I will take you there myself, and then we'll see how much you're worth. Do you understand me? They nod again. I can't hear you. Yes, Mix. You two, get up and clean yourselves up. I retreat, but not too far. I don't trust the calm. Those two were far too aggressive. Later, I find out both are seedlings and came from the same pentalot in the tubes. We find out over the next couple of weeks that all three left of this tube's pentalot display the same aggressive behavior. We have access to summarized reports about the seedlings, and from these we learn that the other two in their pentalot did not succumb to natural causes, but to injuries sustained from the remaining pentalot mates. Okay, an aggressive bunch then. We keep an eye on them, especially during challenge periods. The Harvest Festival, 3 days after Transition Day, is the first time the two cohorts are let loose on each other. Surprisingly, the Alpha cohort somehow has developed a common knowledge of who is open to mingling and being approached and who is not. With another 147 aspirants thrown into the mix, more than one situation stemming from a wrong interpretation or expectation briefly flares up. Nothing that does not get quickly resolved, all harmless, but it still somewhat disturbs the otherwise amicable atmosphere. Rion and Yad are one of the few steady pairs that have come together since we arrived. I have a feeling it is much more than only interest with them. I can see how acutely attuned they are to each other. I imagine this is what Diana and I had. These two have now been together for how long? Half a year? Curious. There's another pair, Beta cohort, approaching them. I guess they're looking for a group? Why do you think we're open to adding someone, Ral? Rion asks. That is the thing. How could anybody know? I mean, it's obvious that you alphas have it somehow figured out between all of you, but us betas don't. And it's what, 250, 300 folks here? There should be a way to display who's open and who's not, Ral snaps at Rion. Ral, that is a great idea. How about you go and blow off some steam and then get together with a couple folks and come up with an idea how to do that, Rion challenges. What do you mean? Coming up with an idea to do what? Ral is obviously confused. Simple, I spell it out for her. We define how we want the guard and the academy to function. You had the idea of having a display of who's open to be approached at the festivals. Figure it out and suggest it as a solution. Don't complain. Change it. Unconvinced, he challenges back. Us changing things? How? I point at Rion. You see her? You've seen her leading the guard creed? Why do you think this is? Because she created it. I let that sink in. He still looks confused when he leaves. That is actually a very good idea, Rion mumbles. I think so too. Let's see what they came up with. I wink at her and Yad. The year pretty much follows the expected pattern. Ral needs a bit more coaxing, but he gets a small group of betas together and they work out an elegant but simple system of displaying when someone is open to be approached. It is not only a visual that they are open, but also how they identify and what they are looking for. It took a while, but the result is worthy. So we take it to the leadership as a suggestion, and it gets accepted. I guess this means we now have a way of displaying what someone is open for. Our alpha cohort is sent out for shorter periods to the Academe satellites. These stays are too brief to be as beneficial as they should be, so a group of us looks into the scheduling of the educational curriculum. Turns out that it's mainly a logistical challenge. If we start the visits to the satellites in the second year, they can't be long. There is not enough time. The suggestion is made that we start in the first year with visits that fit with the curriculum. This allows for enough time to extend all the visits so they benefit from a longer duration. I'm using the warm months to explore the surrounding area, getting to know the land, the valley and the mountains the Academe is built into. During this year, a second obstacle and running course is created. This one is to step it up from the hammer and reflect a more untamed environment. It's about 6 kilometers long, with sections that require scaling of gravel-covered hills and running along the bed of a stream twice, once upstream, once downstream. There's also a lake that needs to be crossed. I guess I should get much better at swimming, as that is not something I did often as a youngster, other than on the pilgrimage. Most of the trek cuts through wooded areas, resulting in a curvy, winding path with plenty of unevenness and roots sticking up. It's not simple 6 kilometers. Every bit of these 6 kilometers is a challenge, ever-changing, never boring. One afternoon in October, returning from one of my exploration runs, I pass by the alpha aspirants training on the hammer. I observe a southerner getting onto the rotating log while a Fae is already on it. This should not be done to begin with, but what happens then makes me pause. The moment a southerner is on the log, it rotates much faster as a reaction to the southerner's weight. I step closer and confirm these moving stations react differently depending on the weight of the student on it. I take this observation to Paxvobi and we discuss. These stations are effective if they react in a certain way, creating a specific reactive momentum. This momentum being different for different students to this extent is not ideal. On the other hand, finding a middle ground is technically impossible considering the spread of the physical traits of the students. Size and weight vary too much. Paxvobi takes this observation to the senior leadership team, and a couple weeks later, the reaction rotating hammer stations inside in the arena are retrofitted with braking mechanisms that can be adjusted to the race of the student. This allows for a more controlled station behavior and brings it much closer to the intended behavior. Once the inside stations are completed, these are opened early to allow for retrofitting of the hammer stations in the same manner. I guess this is what it means to be part of the charter cohort for a new course or educational institution. A lot of initial experience is collected and used to improve everything for everyone that follows. During my own education, I am sent out to the satellites for focus topics, as it was designed. I make use of the opportunity to get to know the local running and workout trails. Every satellite has their own, each one different and fitting to the area. We go out to Berkeley, focusing on farming and hunting. Our time in Greenbrier focus on archery, fletching and forestry. In Twang, we focus on technology and sciences. CHRONICLE, the city in the mountain, is host to masonry and smithing education. In Horsefly, we learn about mining in geology as well as metal smelting. New Minath prides itself as the city of magic. We learn about how to enhance naturally occurring things and a lot about the staff and staff work. In Kitat, we learn about foraging and hunting. And finally, in Sona, we learn about boating, boat building, fishing, and anything that can be harvested in the marshes. Each satellite has its own character, strongly influenced by the locale. This results in each stay mixing up the routine while keeping with it at the same time. There are 8 stays, each between 6 and 10 weeks, that need to be organized before the end of the 3rd year. As satellites do not have the capacity to host a complete cohort, the stays need to be organized with 2 units typically. That's why time is of the essence. If we wait to start at the beginning of the second year, the students only have about 40 weeks in the main academy in both years, and only during these periods are the cohorts complete, able to foster cohesion. Starting the stays at the satellites earlier allows for longer periods at the main campus, allows for building better cohesion. This is where the suggestion comes from. While I enjoy the change of scenery and tossing up of the training routine, along with the expertise and excellence the individual local instructors bring, I always look forward to returning to the main campus, to being challenged by Paxvobi. There is a special kind of understanding of similarity there. Chapter 25. The Borean trade panel in the 5th epoch is what the Borean Export Commission used to be in the latter part of the 4th epoch. This organization is the sole authority for interplanetary trade, commerce, travel, and in Boreas' case, communication. The trade panel's power lies in it being the sole entity dealing with anything extraplanetary. The trade panel's challenge lies in the negligible volume of these transactions. It would be in the panel's interest to increase the volume, which goes counter the goal of a low-tech society. The Boreans are by no means antiquated, completely to the contrary. The Boreans made a conscious decision to forego technology. Encyclopedia Galactica. 19 September 25, 5th epoch. Paxvobi. This year is it. This is what we have been working towards, preparing for years. On this transition day, the first Academy-educated folks will be in leadership position, responsible for and in charge of the cohorts and units of the Guard. The students of the Alpha cohort, now novices, don't comprehend, can't comprehend what is riding on their shoulders. Over 20 years of creating the concept, building the facilities, the schedules, the staff, selecting the instructors, all for this day and every day that follows. By the end of today, we will know whether we succeeded or failed. As in the last 2 years, and every year to come, I presume, we are standing on the podium on the transition plateau opposite the elevator doors that lead up from the tubes. Only a couple more minutes. I can hear the surface-borne candidates approaching from their camp, through the valley and the natural gateway on our left. Then the first door opens, followed quickly by many more. It always looks surreal, this massive mountain with the transition plateau hewn out of it, creating a massive cliff on the other side. What makes it so eerie, though, are the 27 doors in it. They aren't in perfect equal distances. These doorways just are. 27 rectangular holes stand on their short sides on the floor that is the transition plateau. Each creates a niche that houses a shadow even darker than the dark gray rock. It looks like there is nothing there, just dark holes. Until the elevator doors open, that is. Then there is a clean, white, illuminated box at the end, completely at odds with everything else here. It looks out of place, and yet this is exactly why everything else is here. Once the doors close, the shadows are even darker. For a world that has retreated from technology, demolished all obvious signs of technology, chosen to abstain from technology, this wall, these niches, are a remarkable tribute to technology. Not because they are hewn out of the rock, no, but because of what lies below, where these elevator shafts lead. Under us, below these mountains, are over 500 high-tech installations built for one purpose: growing seedlings, humanoids of all races from an early embryonic state to near 20 years of age, without anyone getting near the installations. All are automated, all self-contained. Yes, we supply food in raw form that gets transformed into what the machines need to feed the humanoids down there. And a few days before transition day, we sent down backpacks. These backpacks are the first items these humanoids are aware come from the surface. Other materials get supplied over time. Some raw metals, other raw materials. A few wooden logs at some point. The seedlings aren't even aware there is life on the surface, that there is a surface, until the reveal a few months prior to their transition day. And today is transition day. Today another year of them emerges and they become candidates of the Academy. It is the same every year, will be the same every year to come. The doors open and the groups, 3s, 4s and 5s, carefully, mostly hesitant, emerge. They realize they are outside. They realize they are on the surface. They realize the few. Then they realize there are different races. We stand there, 2 elders, most of the head of departments, and Zwig. Zwig. I'm looking forward to him being gone. He is all title, or more precisely, all entitled and not much real work. He does his speech, and this I have to give him. He is good with words, gets the core of the message across with how he has structured his speeches, his addresses. They are refined every year. Once the candidates are off to enter the house, we make our way to our eagles to fly back to the Academy. Why they have to have these stairs with no railings and holes in them, I don't know. Supposedly it is about being attentive. So far, it is more about being team players, as the first who notices the holes warns the later ones. But what does my objection count for? Back in the Academy, it's more of the same from the previous years, all but the leadership structure. Rion is cohort leader of Beta. Xavie will be cohort leader of Gamma. He chose Cleon as his deputy. Rion was quiet when they arrived 2 years ago. She still has her quiet ways about her, but she has gained confidence. She was capable from the beginning. When they arrived, she had huge respect, admiration for Xavie, but at the same time was scared of him. They all were. I never found out what happened on the road. I assume it had to do with Takash. Gosh, that fellow nearly brought everything down. He came in here swaggering like he owned the place. From what we could piece together, this was exactly their plan. His father's and his. His father. He showed up here a couple of weeks after Takash solved the problem that he was in a permanent manner. And he demanded to see all the evidence and investigation into the murder of his son. I'm not sure why these antiques were permitted in the first place, having a parent giving access and spewing around these accusations and demands. Might have to do with his position on the trade panel. Anyhow, we got that taken care of. The record set straight, at least from our side, and asked the guy nicely to get lost. Their plan was for Takash to graduate and take leadership of the guard, then use this duopoly between him and his father to further their own agenda, increase their own influence and control, right back to the warlords from a couple decades ago. Why does this mentality still linger in some corners? Is it festering? Not the time for these thoughts. I'd say we not only dodged danger that was Takash manipulating and negatively impacting the Academy, but also Takash misleading the guard if he ever would have been able to take control. Because the one force in his way would have been Xavie. Now there is an enigma. He was off-kilter, off-balance when he arrived. I understand the rage, and that it can be difficult to control it, to dampen it down. But with Xavie, there was so much more to it. There still is. I understand he was in a relationship that for some reasons I don't know was on the brink of breaking apart, despite them both being highly invested into each other in a healthy relationship. Xavie was off balance and had a hard time finding his footing. His moral compass was working all right, and he had a way about himself, allowing folks trying to sort out their mess themselves. At the same time, he knew when to step in and lay down the rules. I'm not even going into his acumen in the sparring area. That is simply unparalleled, at least here in the Academy. I bet he'll take me down handily before he graduates. He needed some help getting his bearings and finding his direction. But most of all, he needed to be able to understand his rage and find a way to control it, not subdue it. I'd say we got that figured out. The only other thing I do not understand about Xavie is why he does not seek company. I'm certain the moment he'd put up a display, there would be a line of females and even some males looking to win his fancy. Heck, I bet even a good portion of the staff and instructors would be more than willing. In fact, there would be brawls. But he is clearly not interested and does not put up his display. Nobody is brave enough, or should I say, everybody is too scared of approaching him without display. Even myself. These displays, what a nifty idea. This is all beta cohort, but oh do these make things obvious and easy. In the same move, they avoid so much misunderstanding, miscommunication and drama, especially at the festivals, where we have, with this year's aspirants, over 400 horny young folks looking for a release. The year is pretty much more of the same. The Alpha cohort does not disappoint. Their leadership is solid and they have it under control. Good. All following leadership will use this as an example, and so the handing off from year to year has begun. I mean, in another year, that is. Alpha will stay in their roles for some time, until they are at the appropriate level. We threw them into the deep end about 2 years early for certain positions, but they rose to the challenge, and then some. What that year contributed, what these students did for the Academy, how they made it their own Academy, is nothing short of astonishing. I'm content with that. Perhaps we can have some years of a boring routine. Yes, that would be preferable. No educational institution to build, no initial cohort to build up to define leadership, just a plain educational schedule. I have not seen anyone from the Order of Xavie back here since the first transition day a couple years ago. I still don't understand why they facilitated the delivery of that letter to Xavie. This is so out of the ordinary I can't make sense of it. I gave up trying to understand that particular detail long ago. I'm missing far too much information to even attempt deciphering it. So I let it rest. And that brings us to the end of this reading. It sure sounds like they got it right, setting up the Academy and challenging the Alpha cohort to rise to the occasion. Let me know what you think about that in the comments below. If you want to explore more of this world, don't forget to subscribe to my newsletter, the Boreas Brief, at the link in the description. It's where I share all my secret projects and early updates first. Next time, in part 18, we'll see if Paxvobi's contemplations about the Order of Xavie are important. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it, or click the playlist right here to catch up on any episodes you've missed. Peace.